Hi, it's Paula from Paula Quilting. Welcome or welcome back. Today I'm going to be carrying on working with the disappearing 4 patches, and those are the blocks you may remember from my previous tutorial. If you haven't watched it, I will put a link below in the description, and it might be worth watching first how I made those. In the previous tutorial I did square them up to, or made the rectangles out of them, and we have just had those wonky tumblers here in the middle. In this tutorial I will be doing some extra steps, and I will show you how to easily create square in a square without cutting fabric into pieces. For this tutorial I will be using some shirt fabric in the further steps, and actually if you have used some squares from shirts in the main kind of squares, there's quite a lot of shirts in mine as well. That would have made a very nice memory type of blocks to show off your fabrics from the buttons up shirts and other clothes. So just an option there. So first of all, like I've mentioned, so those are the blocks from previous tutorial. I've started with the 4.5-inch squares. So I had 8.5-inch square when I put them in the 4 patch. I cut them into tumblers shape, I swapped some pieces, and now this is where we are. I'm going to be trimming them to 6.5-inch squares, and because we have quite a little bit of space here around, I can play with the placement. So if there is one particular color of fabric here which is maybe not so great, I can kind of choose where I want to position my ruler to pick the best option. So this white here probably, you know, not the most attractive one, or you know, it's something you will not miss. So that's how I'm going to trim this block, and I'm starting from this bigger piece here because those cutovers can go to my string bucket and use it somewhere else. If you are not into the scrappy blocks, just throw it away. Okay, so those are 2 sides and other 2 now. And again, I'm working with the batch of 5 or 6 blocks at a time, but obviously you can work with as many as you want to in one go. I am creating at the end 30 blocks because the final block will have 10.5 inches, and this is one of those quilts which will be donated again for the Southampton Street Angels and used in the shelters and kind of shared home for people who are in a bad situation. So 6.5-inch square. I'm adding now all around strips. This is again some recycled fabric, so they are 1.5-inch wide, so that will give me at the end 8.5-inch block. And it's worth working, you know, in batches, because this is how you can then chain piece everything, and it kind of goes quicker. So I will carry on and square up a little bit more of the blocks so I can chain piece bigger batch in one go. Okay, so I've got my squares, and they should be 8.5 inches. If they are not exactly that, that's fine too. And I've got 8.5 inches plain squares, which I'm going to be sewing on top of my squares. And you literally just want to go all around and stitch them together. Now I'll turn it around just to see if my square is 8.5. If it is slightly smaller, there are two options. You can either cut your that kind of background fabric to match your square, or you can just try to center it, and if it's still within that your quarter seam allowance or whatever allowance you're actually using to sew it together, it doesn't have to be quarter, then you are fine too. So I think I'm pretty close with those ones. So what I will do, I will go stitch around my block and I will show you the next step. Okay, so the next step, it will be on the back of our square. I want to draw a line on diagonal. Now, if you have a dark fabric, you can use either soap, dry soap. I've got here a piece of chalk, so whatever works. You just want to draw more or less that line, to be fair. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we are going to be squaring up that block, so it's okay if it's not, like, you know, ideal. And I'm drawing the line between the corners of my stitches, not the actual squares. So in case your squares were not exact, you know, square, then you just go between your stitches, because you do want to get in there once you're going to be cutting. And you will need a pair of scissors now. So what you want to do is take and kind of match up those lines in that corner here and snip the fabric. Again, don't worry if you snipped, like, you know, hair away or something, because we are going to be squaring this up. This is quite nice kind of level of that extra fabric around, so don't worry. And then I'm just cutting on my line, and cutting here is, again, doesn't have to be precise, but when you get into the corner there, you really want to be in the corner with your scissors to make sure when you open it up there will be no like a pucker there. So now I can complete other cuts, or in 4 directions. Again, I'm just getting to that corner here, and the other 2. If you work with bright fabric, you can literally use a pen. It's just when you have a darker fabric, you want obviously brighter marks. You can use this technique, to be fair, on any type of the square. And okay, once I will open my squares, I will now iron them, and you can see now straight away how it looks. Now I can put those kind of, you still have a shape of the tumbler here, you can put them on point. So what I will do, I will iron it, and I will put a little bit of starch, because we have now obviously bias cut, so I want to make sure that fabric stays nice and sturdy. And then I will square it up. I'm going to cut it exactly to the same format, 10.5 inch. I've got a template here, and when I'm squaring it up, again, I'm just eyeballing it really. I will be getting rid of those kind of corners here, so when I stitch them together, it will kind of create nice flawless design between those white borders or cream borders. But I'm not measuring anything. I'm not worried that it will be a little bit of wonky there. I'm just literally going to go around more or less as I can see it in the middle and square it up. It has to be fun. You should not kind of worry about you know, exact measurements here, where the middle kind of falls in. Quick and easy project. Here you go. So that's my block. So I will carry on with all my other blocks, and then we'll have a look at the design board and see what kind of layouts we can put based on this tumbler here, but obviously you can put anything you like in the center and use this technique to kind of put them on the point. I finished my block and I put some of the design walls so you can see what they can look like. So in this layout I have put them all kind of facing up with the wider side of the tumbler. But you know you can do much more. You can have a one row coming that way and one row coming the other way. That will look nice as well. So kind of you have that kind of illusion them going up and down, or you can even make some sort of like a almost like a flower design here if the smaller side of the tumbler face to the inside, and that will look nice as well. And then if you wish, you can make a cornerstone, put some sashing, you can snowball this one, add another color, you can frame one flower. There's so many options in this block. You know, you can make a batch of those blocks and finish 5 different quilts with it. So just have a play with it. I think they look very nice, and I do like how that fabric shirt, which is all of those frames are from the fabric shirt. I like how they pop up and creating additional design here. And if you have, for example, frame all of those blocks with the same type of fabric and something else, then you would have this one color of the square here. However, note that I wasn't kind of measuring anything when I was squaring them up, so I probably wouldn't go with the same color because they will not be exact here. In those spaces there will be a little bit of shift there, and with the same color it will be kind of popping out a bit more. But with any other scrappy fabric, once you would quilt it, wash it, you will not even notice. So that's why I wasn't worrying about how I'm going to you know, square it up, whether it's the same way or not. I was just eyeballing everything, and I think for this type of block it looks great. So you can use this technique of framing for any other block. You know, here you can have anything you like. You may or may not add sashing, it's up to you. Somebody asked before how kind of big you would have gone with that block. I would say when you open that square up, when you cut them, I wouldn't go bigger than the square ruler I've got, because you need to square it up at the end, and just using the mat and long ruler it might be a little bit tricky. So I wouldn't go beyond 12.5 inch because that's the size of the square I've got the ruler. But other than that, you know, there's lots of other things you can use that type of framing. Anything you would like to put on the point, basically, it will look very nice. You may notice that I haven't put the name of this design when I started recording this video, because I didn't know what to call it before. So now I'm calling it Tumbling Tumblers on Point. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial about disappearing 4 patches and how we can make them into the tumblers and add on point as well. I will link in the description below all the other 4 patches I've done so far. They're all disappearing, so you have different options. Have a look at those if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you do now, and please share with your quilty friends information about this channel so they also can get some ideas for their own work. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.